survival pattern. It is a trauma-based behavior that you have used, or that your mama and them have used, or that our ancestors in general have used, right? Just to get by, just to get by. You know that song, right? And it's not helpful or healthy to continue operating in that way. It serves us in one way, but it does not serve us in another. And if you don't know about Dr. Joy DeGruy, if you've heard of Dr. Joy DeGruy, go back on this Juneteenth holiday, or at least sometime this month, and be reminded of her work. She talks about post-traumatic slave syndrome, y'all. And she talks about the fact that this is a whole lot of behaviors, dysfunctional ass, she don't say it that way, but I'm saying the dysfunctional ass behaviors that we as Black folks have that impact us and our relationships, right? They continue to show up in terms of how we relate to one another. You don't think that it's showing up. You're like, well, I wasn't even around during slavery. Like, I was born in 1982, so, you know what I'm saying? It was after the civil rights. It don't matter. It don't matter. It is in your emotional DNA. It is in your psychological DNA. And there's a lot of research about that. So this is about our recognizing with compassion, without judgment, without making ourselves feel bad, but just having clarity, right? What we've carried, what's helped us survive, and what do we need to put down? What weight do we need to put down? What do you need to release that you've been carrying, that you were unaware of, or that you are aware of? And so that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So my husband's going to get started with the first generational pattern or curse, however you want to talk about it, and then we'll go from there.
And Blamley, you know, y'all, we're streaming on YouTube, IG, and TikTok. You know, so if you want to share, please raise your hand. You know, we want to give you an opportunity first and foremost to be able to speak to some of the things that we lift up. And like I said, if you want to share something, just raise your hand and we'll bring you forward. Again, I want y'all to be looking at, you know, how these things may have impacted you. And at the same time, too, the question is, what are you willing to put down? What are you willing to put down? You know, we carrying everything. You know, it starts to feel heavy over time. Our backs start to hurt. We start to get headaches. We start to experience stress. And when you start to experience those things, I mean, what happens is that it spills over into other areas of your life. And so when it comes to how you're showing up in your relationship, when it comes to how you're showing up at work, when it comes to how you're engaging with your children, if you're constantly carrying the stress of what you got from your history, but you're also carrying the stress of the day and the stress of what everybody else got going on, yo, you're going to be mean mugging. You're going to be in a funky space, and sometimes you just might be walking around with a stank face simply because you're carrying so much stuff. You got to sit it down. What they say, sat down? You got to sat that down. You got to. And so the first thing that I want to lift up is that when it comes to our history, there's something that many of us grapple with. And it's something that in many respects has served its purpose in terms of protecting us. But the reality is that if we're looking to grow closer in our relationship, like, we gotta set this thing aside. And the piece that I'm lifting up is your emotional guardedness. Your emotional guardedness. The reason why I say that in some situations this right here has served us is because many of us have had traumatic experiences. My wife, she just lifted up this whole piece around the post-traumatic slave syndrome and the things that we've endured as a people. But even if we bring it into a more micro perspective and look more nuclear in terms of what happened in our formative years with our immediate family, like, you'll see you dealt with some traumatic stuff. Many of us have dealt with some traumatic stuff. And so as a result, depending upon whether or not we had issues of neglect, if we had issues of abandonment, if we have issues of abuse, if we have issues of, you know, sexual trauma, whatever it may have been, if we had issues of poor affection, no affection, poor communication, if we had issues of constant conflict and agitation and stress, then what happens is that, again, this pressure becomes heavy and it weighs on us. And so what we end up doing is we go into a shell to shield ourselves, to guard ourselves, because we fear that if we are vulnerable, if we expose ourselves, then we might be subjected to the possibility of being hurt.
Yes, yes.
And so that manifests in many of our relationships because, again, if we're protecting ourselves and moving in a way in which we're emotionally guarded, you know, it impacts our intimacy. It impacts the way that we communicate. It impacts the way we even navigate conflict. And so, again, you want to make sure that you're putting yourself in a place where not only do you have the insight and the understanding of this as a real possibility, but that you're doing something about it. And so, if emotional guardedness has been your go to, my challenge for you is to look at self and challenge self to do something different. To do something different. Your responsibility in your relationship is to create a safe space, but you should also be looking to curate safe spaces with your spouse, with your partner. And so many of y'all might be like, my relationship is not safe. I'm emotionally guarded based off of what it is that I've experienced, but are you all cultivating an environment of safety in a relationship? That's not just his responsibility, her responsibility, that's both of y'all's responsibility.
Right.
So are you doing your part? Emotional guardedness may have served you at one point in time, but if you want closeness, if you want more intimacy, emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, you gotta let that guard down, sis. You gotta let that guard down, bro. And again, I'm respecting the fact that you're looking for safety, but then my challenge is, what are you doing to create it? What are y'all doing to create it?
That's good. That's good. And let me just give you this on the second one. This is really closely related. And if you know, I think most people know this, but I'm not gonna make any assumptions that we as Black folks have good reason not to trust institutions, not to trust organized institutions, whether it be around our mental health, our even our medical health. I'm not advocating that we don't, but there is a history of Black people being what's the word I'm trying to live being experimented upon, right? And putting having labels put upon us psychologically, mentally, emotionally, and physically. I mean, when I learned the whole thing about the fact that Black women in the medical literature back in the day, it was said that we could deal with pain more, so we didn't need as much pain medicine because we could deal with pain more. Somehow, you know, that was linked to us just being able to bear stuff more, whatever. That's just racism. You know, when we think about the Tuskegee experiment, that's just racism. When we think about so many different things in terms of how Black people often get diagnoses, disproportionately more mental health diagnoses than other races of people. They can look at a lot of different things, but for us, they just jump to, you know, a label quickly. And again, be clear for those who don't know us, we are therapists, we are coaches, right? And so that is, it's okay to have some mental health issues. I need somebody to type "it's okay" in the chat.
Yeah, it's okay.
I have had mental health challenges. I manage my mental health right now with God, with grounding myself, with affirmations, with prayer, and Lexapro. Won't he do it? Oh, yes. Hallelujah. Okay. I go back and forth to therapy, do whatever I got to do. Right. It's okay. But I want for all of us to understand and to really connect the dots that when we distrust, particularly in our relationships and for ourselves as individuals, getting help so that we as a pattern, we start generationally, you see generation after generation of Black folks like, I'm not going to talk to them people. How many people said that? I'm not going to, what they going to tell me? I'm not telling my business. I ain't, right. It's a straight up like, we ain't doing that. Psh, be quiet. We're not sharing anything, whether it's in the school, whether it's, you know, whatever it is, because there's a natural distrust. We have to open up our thinking, not to just be open to anybody and everybody, but to make sure that we don't just resist help. To resist help is anti-African. And when I say that, I mean it's anti-Black. Because as Black people, on the flip side, we are resilient because of community. We are resilient because we seek wise counsel, because we sit at the kitchen table, because we ask somebody how you do that or how you figure that out. Not because we stay isolated. And one of the number one things that my husband and I have seen over the years that we have helped our people do the work of becoming the best of themselves is to get out of isolation. Go to somebody, come to our retreats. Come go to the thing and sit in there and be awkward and share. Come to our community and get on a Zoom with other people who are sharing their business in a safe space. When you are in isolation, you are at risk. When you avoid therapy, when you avoid coaching, when you avoid counseling, you are avoiding your healing. It doesn't mean that that's the only way, but I promise you, just like you got to find the right person to know how to braid your hair. You gotta find the right person who know how to get you that line up right. You know what I'm saying? It's a science to it. You don't just go and just sit in anybody's chair. Am I right? It's the same way with a therapist, a coach. There is the right person for you. Don't distrust because your mama, your daddy, your cousins, everybody, we just don't do that, right? Break that generational pattern and start to lean in to get the help you need. Get the help you need because it's okay not to be okay, but to
Yeah.
stay not okay and to stay in isolation, Lord, it's just you're just making yourself suffer for no damn reason.
So speaking about like not staying in isolation, again, I want to encourage y'all to come to our 5 days to more effective communication challenge
Yes,
next week,
Monday.
Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Go to blamchallenge.com. You can comment the word mindset on IG and we'll shoot you a DM with the information. Speaking on that piece about the, us having distrust towards institutions, my wife and I, for those of y'all who don't know, we had a child with a chronic illness. And one of the things that we had to grapple with, and some of y'all on here are parents. One of the things that we had to grapple with for 21 years of his life was pain management. And these institutions, y'all, they'll have you looking and questioning yourself and attempting to make you feel bad for getting rest, for getting a respite, for getting some relief from your pain. They'll look at you sideways. They'll ask you 1,001 questions. And the insinuation is that you only want this because you're a dopehead. Because you a pipe, because we as Black people aren't entitled to ensure that we're taken care of. And so that in and of itself, is racism. Like that piece that my wife spoke about in terms of Black women being able to tolerate and bear more pain simply because you're a Black woman, like you're an animal. Like, come on now. And so when it comes to, again, we dealt with this experience with our son, going into hospital, dealing with pain management, feeling some sort of way, feeling some discomfort around the fact that he's hurting and we want to make sure that he gets a certain level of relief. But then how often can we go and ask? How much can we ask for to give him some relief? Because, you don't want to cause any eyebrows to be raised. But ultimately, again, what you're trying to do is provide relief for your child. Like, we got to deal with stuff like that. And so, again, I got a right to be. He has a right to be. You all have a right to be. And in that right to be, if you're hurting, if you're not well, then you should have a right to get help. And when institutions try to put you in a place or categorize you as something bad for seeking help, and then we buy into it,
or not doing it the way they want you to do it.
Yeah, that's when it becomes a problem, y'all. So again, we got to make sure, Yvonne, we got to unlearn that stuff. We got to unlearn, and we got to make sure that we're educating not only ourselves, but also educating them and, helping them to realize just who we are and the strength, that we have. And not just the strength, but that sometimes, again, we need that relief and that rest, that respite. And so, it's something that we got to look at. Another one that I want to lift up, y'all, is that, and this is a challenge specifically, I think, for, Black men, something that has, weighed on us that, we do need to put down. Harsh punishment, y'all. Harsh punishment. The way in which we sometimes discipline, come for, belittle, berate, and beat down our children is unacceptable. Is unacceptable. And real talk, it's the folks that are on here, many of y'all are around about my age or older, maybe a little bit younger. And so that whole tough love idea is something that we experienced. Something that we experienced. And I'll be honest, it's something that I have bought into, in raising our children. We got 5 children.
Did you experience that?
Yeah, but it was a norm. Like it was like, to me, it was something that it just was what it was.
Oh.
Yeah.
What that mean you experienced it? What does that mean for you?
I mean, tough love, like getting spankings, like corporal punishment. Is what I'm speaking about.
Are you talking about spankings, or are you just talking about
So
going hard with it? Like,
yeah, so what I'm talking about, there's a difference, and some of y'all may or may not agree. There's a difference between a spanking and a beating. Some of y'all see it as the same. I see it as different. A beating is going over the top. It's going overboard. It's the intention is to hurt. Is to
leave marks.
Yeah, exactly. And spankings are the lesser degree of that. And so I feel as though I experienced spankings. But nevertheless, though, like what many people express is that even in and of itself is a harsh form of punishment. All I'm saying is this: when it comes to being in a relationship with your child, even when it comes to being in a relationship with your spouse, um, there are effective ways for you to be able to communicate your point. You ain't gotta use your hand, you ain't gotta use your feet, you ain't gotta use an extension cord, you ain't gotta use a belt. You can use your mouth. And sometimes y'all be weaponizing the words that come out of your mouth. And that mouthpiece be sometimes even more painful than what it is that you do with your hands and what you do with your feet. But nevertheless, like, again, we got to be more gentle. We got to be more conscientious. We got to be more concerted in our effort to provide a certain form of discipline that is not only corrective, but that is also reassuring that you actually love the person that you're in a relationship with.
Mm-hmm.
Your child wants to feel love. Your spouse wants to feel love. And so if you have difficulty managing your anger, you got to grapple with that. You got to manage that. You got to deal with that. And they don't necessarily have to experience the ire of your inability to manage self. Use your words. Language matters.
The ire.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I want to know, just based off of what you heard, which pattern have you experienced in yourself, in your own family, in your own relationships? Number one, we talked about being emotionally guarded, this fear of vulnerability, right, and how this can be passed down generationally. And then what was the next one we talked about? It was distrust, right? Like distrust of anybody, anything. I'm not getting no help. I'm not going to nobody. I'm not seeing nobody. I ain't talking to nobody. That was number two. And then the third one was what you just said, which is what I'm trying to find it again. That tough love,
Yeah,
harsh
getting them beatings.
discipline, getting them beatings and all that kind of stuff. So which ones did you experience? One, two, or three? Which one? I want to know. Just drop it in the chat. And while you're dropping that in the chat, we would be remiss if tonight we did not talk about generational strengths. We love to talk about the problems, but we need to understand that we come from some places. Okay, I see you distrust, but not anymore. That's good, but not anymore. I love that. That's so good. That's so good. So there are some things that we have. There are some things that you have that you stand on every single day, that you use every single day, that you don't even recognize that you use. And sometimes we hear it and we skip over it because we just like, yeah. Anybody ever ask you like how you do all that, or how you be doing this and this and that? And what do you say? I mean, you just gotta do what you gotta do. How many people have said that? You gotta do what you gotta do, right? I mean, what other choice is there? But I want everybody to know there's always a choice. Oh my goodness, there's always a choice, and the fact that we show up, you show up every day to life, not perfect, but still pushing, still making one step in front of the other, and being resilient, right? That comes from our history. That comes from our ancestors. I can look at folks in my history, in your history, and I can look at what they have done, right? Making a way out of no way, overcoming oppression, making $1 out of 15 cents, whatever it is, perseverance and showing up matters. And if we don't start to pay attention to that versus like, that's just a given, like that's what you're supposed to do. So our children are out here, our husbands, our wives, right? Persevering every day. And we like, and what?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because culturally we like, that's what we do. Like, you want a cookie for that? But we need to flip that. And we need to understand that we need to embrace the gifts that our ancestors have given us. We need to embrace the gifts that we see that our spouses have, the ways that they show up, that run deep in our DNA, and not just gloss over it. Because perseverance is a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Persistence is a choice. It is a choice. Everything we do, building your relationship, building your family, paying attention in your community to other people who might be where you used to be and saying a little word to them, all of it's a choice. Being isolated and hyper independent and being Eurocentric is a choice. Being interconnected, interdependent, and understanding that there but go I am also responsible to some degree to the person next to me and across from me, especially who looks like me. That's all a choice. So when you roll like that, because that's just how we do as Black people, right? When we look at family beyond just our blood, you know what I'm saying? And we pay attention, man, that village spirit comes from our history. And it is a choice. to live in that lane or to not. And so I just want to lift that up, especially today on Juneteenth, that all of that, choosing to spend time, choosing to say to your family or to your boo, like, let's go do this, let's be together, let's spend time, all of that, you sitting on strengths. You had a cookout every year. People come over your house for Thanksgiving. You tired, but you're going to keep doing it. You might need to assign some people to do some things so you're not doing everything. You know what I'm saying? You the one who try to get the family together. You the one who just, bridge the gap and help people to have conversations. All of those things. These are generational strengths. And when you look at your particular family, you can see who you are like, and who was doing that before you, so that you can also pay attention to the particular person who you're picking up the baton from, and continuing to move forward. So we got to pay attention to our strengths. And guess what? Generally speaking, we're not inclined to do that. So I want to challenge everybody here tonight. Do that for your boo. Like, you're really good at A.
Yeah.
You do a really good job at B. You know what I'm saying? Instead of it just being what they do, like, shout them out. Let them know you see them. Let them know not only that you see them, but that you appreciate it. Because we talked this week about, in our community, about putting the weight down. And sometimes you can't put nothing down. You don't think you can put anything down because ain't nobody helping. But when your partner is doing something to make life a little easier, no matter how small or how big, you should shout them out. That should be a habit. That should be a way of being. And that's just a life lesson. That ain't even about just your boo. That's just period. You know what I'm saying? Our kids, whomever, they thoughtful. Yeah, they supposed to, because we told them to. But we should still shout them out. We should still be intentional in the ways that we show up in our relationships. Don't take things for granted.
Don't take things for granted. Don't take your wife for granted. Don't take your husband for granted. Don't take your children for granted. They are a blessing. They are a gift from God. Make sure you're being intentional about celebrating them, praising them, applauding them, because they definitely do deserve it. One thing that I know is that we just celebrated Father's Day, and a number of men, although they may not verbalize it, be feeling some sort of way when Father's Day rolls around. Because we don't get the same hoopla, we don't get the same applause, we don't get the same acknowledgement. It almost feels as though we're that invisible man. And so what is the weight of that? What is the weight of working? What is the weight of being present? What is the weight of transporting children to and fro? What is the weight of spending time with your spouse? But then when it comes to a particular day, not being acknowledged or seen or affirmed for all that you do. What's the weight of that? What's the weight of invisibility? That's what a lot of Black men experience. And so, ladies, I'm challenging you all to be more intentional about celebrating him, acknowledging him, praising him, and not just your man, but also your sons too, and not just on Father's Day or his birthday or y'all's anniversary. Do it throughout the year. He deserves it. Fellas, I challenge y'all to do the same thing. Although women and moms get a whole lot of love, what are you doing in your house for the woman that is the head of your house? What are you doing for her? Are you celebrating her? Are you affirming her? Are you applauding her? If not, you got to get on your game, bro. That's your queen. Make sure you're honoring her. She deserves it. And so we got to make sure we're doing our part. When it comes to this whole piece around, being intentional about our efforts around applauding, affirming, and acknowledging, when you don't do that, when there's an absence of that, our esteem starts to suffer. We start to question self. We start to feel uncertain. We start to search and seek outside places for that reassurance and that validation. You don't want that to happen. And again, it's not just for your husband, it's not just for your wife, it's for your sons and it's for your daughters. When was the last time you shouted him or her out? They need to hear it, fam. They definitely do.
That sounds like a charge to me. Yes, Yvonne said start to fill in the gaps. Let me tell you something. If you get off this live tonight and you don't take anything concrete from it, you are an observer. You a sidebar person. You sit on the side and you come and you're like in the audience. You don't engage with it, with the information. You just look at the information. Don't just look at this tonight. Pay attention to what you can do differently. And on this Juneteenth, as we honor everybody who has come before us, I just want to kind of enhance that charge my husband just gave and just ask you, you can drop it or you can just take it and think on it. What is one unhealthy pattern you get that you are ready to release?
Yeah, what you want to sit down? What you going to sit down?
What
What you going to sit
What are you
down?
going to lay down?
And what you going to stand on?
Yeah, and then what is one strength that you're going to continue to carry forward or that you're going to bring back? You know what I'm saying? You're like, I always had this, but I just hadn't really been doing it lately. Or this is something that my mother did, and I'm gonna start doing it. What's one strength, whether it's yours particularly or in your family, or that you've seen somewhere and you're gonna bring it in? So, what are you going to release? One thing in terms of unhealthy generational curses or patterns. Well, how do I could just release all of that? You just say that you will. You just declare it and decree it. You just determine it. And then you start to look more into that. If it's a complex thing, then you start to get into proximity of other people who have done that. Oh, I'm not going to keep dealing with just, not being organized with my finances and just being a mess with my finances. Well, who can you find? In your family, maybe not in your family, professionally, online. We got so many resources out here now. Ain't no reason for none of us to not have what we need.
Mm-hmm.
Get in proximity to others. And start to do the things that you can do and you can move forward with as a model for your family and for your relationships. I love what MNP 1111 said, carrying forward love and releasing too many chances. Oh, all right, releasing too many chances. Okay. Yeah, that sound like, I don't know, but it sounds like you embracing some boundaries. If it's you releasing too many chances, you might be embracing some boundaries in your life. Boundaries. That's always a good thing. Always a good thing. So everybody, we just want to thank you for being here tonight. This is Juneteenth. Everybody is out and about. Some people chilling in the house, but I know it's a relaxed day. Everybody don't get off, but hopefully you still made your own time in your own way, in some way or another. And you will really think about what you're going to lay down and what you're going to pick back up or you're going to continue to do going forward.
I like what Yvonne said. She said, release doubt and reclaim resilience. I want to hear from the Blamley.
Oh, yeah.
I want to hear from y'all. So if y'all want to speak on what y'all are willing to sit down and what y'all are going to stand on, just raise your hand and we'll bring you forward to be able to share. I know one thing that we as a people definitely need to sit down is silence.
Ooh.
Just this generational curse of silence. A lot of people are suffering quietly in their lives and in their relationship because we sweep a whole bunch of stuff under the rug. You ain't supposed to say certain things. I mean, what happens in the house stays in the house. And so I get it from a protective place, but that silence has led to a lot of hurt, a lot of pain, a lot of generational trauma because something happened and that ain't nobody talking about. Your grandmother ain't talking about, your uncle, your auntie ain't talking about. There's been a history of abuse for many folks inside of our community that has been managed by silence. It's been permitted to permeate because of silence. And so silence is one thing that we need to sit down, and what we need to stand on is telling the truth. We need to stand on speaking and telling the truth. Yes. MNP says, silence hurt me. I speak now. Yes, you got to speak up. Speak up. You want your daughters to speak up. You want your sons to speak up. But in order for them to speak up, guess who got to speak up first? You. You got to speak up first. You got to model what it looks like to stand on business, to stand on truth, and to not be an active or passive participant in this silence epidemic. This whole snitches get. My son was listening to a song the other day. And it's how we as adults, we create stuff for children that is masked under cartoon characters. So it was a SpongeBob song. And we got to be careful, y'all, because sometimes, when you listen to the lyrics, you be like, oh, that's what they talking about. But this song was talking about, and I'm going to tie this into silence and all of that, but this song was talking about fundamentally snitches get stitches. And SpongeBob was supposed to be participating in a robbery and I don't know, Plankton told on them or something like that.
What is you talking about? You just
I'm bringing this up though, y'all, because again, like stuff is happening all around us. And we got to pay attention to what's happening, and we got to be confident and courageous enough to be able to speak on the things that we see and the things that we experience. Like, don't just be a passive participant in what's happening in your life. And so, what I said to my son, I was listening to it. It wasn't on the SpongeBob show, but it was a song that somehow my son had picked up on from probably somebody at school, and so he was playing it. He's 9 years old. Yeah, 9 years old. And I'm thinking like, I'm listening to it and I'm digging the beat, but I'm listening to the lyrics and I'm like, this right here is delivering a message that I don't necessarily agree with. And so again, they're talking about snitches get stitches. Some of us move and perpetuate this whole piece around silence because this is a mindset that we've adopted. Snitches get stitches. If we speak up about abuse in our family, snitches get stitches.
Look.
If we speak about sexual trauma that's occurred in our family, snitches get stitches. And what I'm saying to you is that it's dysfunctional and it's a generational curse to stay silent on something that is corrupt and that is punishing you and that's perpetuating generations of pain. That's asinine. It really is. And so I'm challenging you to speak up. And so I told him, don't listen to that no more.
You did?
Yeah, it's like, but you know, it's go ahead and you know, you need to speak your piece. Yeah, see, my wife, she be like blowing me because she be on some other type of stuff, and she don't be paying attention as closely as I do. So I'm just saying to y'all, like, yeah. So I told him, and I'm telling everybody on him. I told him,
No, I'm just saying,
don't
we
listen to that.
to it this morning.
So that's what I'm
I was
saying,
dancing in
Joe.
the kitchen.
Yeah, but you're not listening to the words, Joe. That's that thing. Like people, like,
I am listening to the
no,
words.
you're not, because that's not cool.
I am, but I'm just not as pressed about. I mean, he's
We need to be
talking about
pressed.
jellyfishing.
There's a message, boo.
I know, baby. Okay. So
See what I got to deal with, y'all.
wait a minute.
Thank you, Electra. Electra said I agree.
Yes, it's very real. It's very real. Okay. That was something I was about to say.
You about to say that you ain't gonna let them listen to that no more?
It don't say that stitches get stitches.
They do.
It don't say that.
Okay.
Okay, but anyway, there was something else I was about to say. I forgot. Sorry. Okay, babe.
MMP. I mean, I appreciate your transparency, and I'm just sending love your way too, based off of what you just shared. That's heavy. That's heavy. Yeah, Yvonne, they come to manipulate our minds. Anybody that's in the Blamley that's on here on Zoom want to share what you're willing to sit down and what you're willing to stand on. What are you willing to sit down and what are you willing to stand on? Let us know. Let us know. Raise your hand. I'll bring you forward. I want to hear from y'all. This is an important piece right here. Again, this whole month we've been talking about the weight that we carry, and if you have not paid attention to the weight that you're carrying, then please take a closer look at. I mean, feel yourself, feel your body, feel your experience. Like, get in touch with what's going on for you mentally and emotionally. Sometimes, I mean, really what it just requires is for us to get still and be present with what's happening in our body. Those heart palpitations, that may be a manifestation of the weight that you're carrying. Those headaches may be a manifestation of the weight that you're carrying. Those sleepless nights, like all of that.
Manifestation of the perimenopause that I'm carrying everywhere I go. That's what I'm manifesting. Lord have mercy. Pray for me today, tomorrow, and the next day. Okay? Because it ain't no joke. Okay? But let me just say this for those who I know are homework people and people who take the time to reflect. Again, you can do this later. But what is one unhealthy pattern and generational curse you are willing to release? Even if you just bring it up, you bring it forward in your conversation with your family. Have a family meeting. And for some of you all do that on a regular basis, or you don't. But I encourage you to start doing that. Even if your kids is grown up out your house, you can get brand new any day of the week, anytime you want to. You're like, what is all of this? You're brand new. I sure am. You know what I mean? Like, do that. And then again,
what if they don't want to participate?
One
though?
strength that you can bring back or that you can continue with. Say it again.
I mean, you say that, big and bad. Yvonne says, say it out loud to self. So you say that and you move your neck in a certain way
I say what? And what are you talking about?
that you can do it any day of the week. You can do it any time that you want.
Meaning, I
Establish a
say
new
get
norm.
brand new.
Yeah, you can establish a new norm.
You can decide this is what I'm doing now.
And but what I'm saying is that, like, so you're gonna encounter resistance.
Yeah.
So if you have adult children,
might.
they may not want to. If you have teenagers, they may smack their teeth and roll their eyes and be resistant to whatever it is that you're lifting
Your
up.
husband might be looking at you like
Your
that.
husband might look
Your
at you in a
wife
certain
might
way.
grin on
So what do you do with that? What do you do with that? Because a lot of people are experiencing that. Like, the children don't want to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Earlier today, when we went to the Juneteenth celebration, my wife said to me, "Well, our 17-year-old may not want to go," and so what I told my wife is, like, I'm not gonna ask him. I'm gonna tell him this is what we doing. This is what we doing. And so sometimes approach matters, and I do think that as they are growing and maturing and becoming adults, that autonomy and the right to self-determination matters as well too. However, I think that when you do encounter some level of resistance, sometimes it's based off of the way that you're approaching the situation. You're opening yourself up for resistance and not being clear. You're unsettled within you, and so it comes off a certain way towards them. And so you get the resistance because you're not even sure about what it is that you're trying to do. Now, if you do encounter resistance, your feelings get hurt. What do you do with that? Do you articulate that? Do you express what the need is? Do you express why you want to do the things that you do? Do you express those things? And so this is about being in relationship. And again, it may not always go the way in which you want it to go, but you at least got to first push your piece, make your move. And then hopefully, it will align the way in which you want it to, which will be in the best interest of the family. You're just trying to connect. That's all you're trying to do. You're just trying to connect. And sometimes people don't necessarily want to connect with you in the way in which you want to connect.
So you got to make room.
You got to make room, and you also got to manage yourself.
Somebody said it is important to live what you say because family and others are always watching. Yes, that's so true.
Yeah.
Be kind of five. Very, very true.
Yeah. How many of y'all be like, we gonna be on time? It's important for you to be on time, but as a family, y'all ain't never on time. You're always late. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then, I mean, real talk, like, our children be saying that stuff to us. They say it specifically to my wife.
Oh, no, they say it to you, too.
They say it to my wife.
What
like,
they be saying our family.
y'all be all pressing us to be on time about something, but you don't even be on time. We be showing up to these live streams. Now, my wife be showing up to these live streams late, but in any event, like, again, if you want...
This is this is all you. It's all him. He just lying out here.
If you want your family to be in alignment with what it is you do, you got to examine the way in which you move. It's important, y'all. It really is. All right, y'all. So, all right, I don't see any other questions or comments. I'm gonna hang back with the Blamley for just about like 5 minutes or so, see if y'all want to say something about this topic. IG, we appreciate y'all showing up again. Comment mindset, and we'll shoot you a DM about the challenge this upcoming week. 5 days to more effective communication. TikTok, you can do the same thing, or go to blamchallenge.com. YouTube, blamchallenge.com. That's BLAM challenge.com. Blam stands for Black Love and Marriage. We appreciate you, MMP 111. Definitely sharing, definitely participating in this live stream. We appreciate you. Thank y'all for showing up. And Blamily, I'm gonna hang back with y'all for a couple of minutes. And if y'all got anything that y'all want to say about this topic, then raise your hand.